Sean Ellis for Hellraiser Boxing in partnership with London Live. I'm here at the Gum Shield Gym in Bexley with the former WBU welterweight champion Ryan Barrett. Ryan, how's it going?
Yeah, very good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for inviting me down.
It's alright.
Just wanted to grab your thoughts post-fight last Friday. Obviously, the takeover was Mickey Elliott's first televised show. How do you think it went?
Yeah, for Mickey, I think it went. It was a cracking show. As always, Mickey puts on decent 50-50 fights, and the bouts always live up to the expectation.
Tell me, you were in Richard Horton's corner. Tell me how that relationship came about.
My friend who I used to fight with, Gareth Lawrence, is helping out Richard Horton, and he said like his licence wasn't ready for him to do the corner. Would I be willing to help him out in preparation for his fight, tactically wise, and in the corner the night of the fight? So that was my job to try and help an old friend out.
So obviously the result wasn't what you were hoping for, I suppose, but credit where credit's due. I mean, Daryl Williams put on a hell of a show there.
Oh yeah, Daryl is a hot prospect, and I've known Daryl since his amateur days and before he didn't have bouts, so I used to help him out with sparring here. So I always knew it was going to be a tall order for Richard, but I just thought maybe if we could get over 3 or 4 rounds, Richard would have been in a real good shout with that piston-like jab he's got.
Was that the game plan going into it then? Get past 3 and see if you can take Daryl into waters he hasn't really been tested in?
Well, that was the plan, was obviously not to... everyone who fights Daryl backs up. They're scared of what's going to come, his power. He's very strong physically. So our game plan was obviously to use that jab constantly, but going forward with it and trying to lure Daryl into take some big shots, because he's a little bit prone to taking a few shots on the way in. So that was obviously the plan behind what we was going to do, and then, like you say, try and take him into deep waters and drown him a little bit.
So obviously that was the inaugural show. How do you think it's going to be moving forward? I mean, what do you think it's like for British boxing fans? What does it mean to have this back on live TV, boxing being brought back to live TV?
Well, first off, I'm so pleased for my manager and my friend Mickey to have this opportunity, because I box on all of the shows and he puts on the best shows in London and England. So I'm happy for that, and obviously to be on normal TV that everyone can see, free of charge is excellent, really. And like I say, we can start getting to see some of these top class fighters we've got, like Daryl Williams, Larry Akindeu, a whole host of Mickey's fighters like Elliot Matthews. He's got a whole host of top class fighters that are not getting no TV coverage. Now this is good for him and all of these fighters around him.
Brilliant. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself, because obviously last year before, you were in the welterweight division campaigning, and I don't know if many people know, but you suffered 2 strokes and you had to hang up the gloves. And just tell me how the transition is now from fighter to trainer.
Yeah, initially to hang up, be forced to hang up my gloves was very hard, and then obviously after a while I obviously got asked to train a few fighters, and I had a good group of fighters around me, so it was quite an easy position for me to take, was to go into the trainer. And I think with the experience I've had to take fights at short notice. I've been all around the world. I think my experience will make its own talking come later on in my career, really, as a coach. And like I say, I love it more now. And I do think, with my experience, I'll be a better coach than I was a boxer.
What did it feel like going back to the Camden Centre somewhere? Was that the last place you boxed, the Camden Centre?
Yeah, the Camden Centre was the last place I got to fight, yeah.
How did it feel going back there as a trainer this time?
It was interesting, because you come in there, like we sorted out the bandages and the changing room, all that, and then I walked out and there was a couple of early fights going on, and the smell and the feel got me all buzzing, and all the hairs on the back of my neck. And then obviously I remembered the hard fight I was in the last time there, and obviously having to go to the hospital, and what happened, and that's just life. And like I say, I'm much more happy now that I'm the coach. Obviously I put on a load of weight.
Campaigning at heavyweight now.
Super heavyweight. But no, like Mickey gives me good opportunities, and he's a good friend to me. So
brilliant. I mean, tell us a little bit about the fighters that you have in the stable at the moment. I know we've had to come upstairs. It's packed downstairs at the moment. We've come up and got some peace and quiet in the office. Tell me about some of the guys you're training.
Yeah, we've got Jack Disher. He's 6 fights and 5 wins and 1 draw. We've got Louis Christie, which is son of Errol Christie. He was the best amateur ever to come out of England. We've got him. We've got Billy Saunders. I think he's had 3 fights, 3 wins. And then I've got the very hot 147 WBC Youth World Champion Jamil Dahu. He's had 13 fights, 13 wins, 12 KOs. So currently at the moment he's sparring in Las Vegas.
So tell me a little bit, tell me something about that dynamic that you've got going on. When can we see him over here and training back in your gym?
Well, Jamil will be back early January, back here in this gym, and obviously he'll do some kind of promotional deal with Mickey, no doubt. So you'll definitely get to see him on London Live in the very near future.
And he's got a huge following. I mean, I checked out his Twitter and his Facebook there last week. He's got over a million followers or something like that. What do you foresee him doing in the welterweight division?
Well, like I say, for any welterweight, if they want to fight a guy who's had 13 fights, 13 wins, 12 KOs, and not gone past 3 rounds or 4 rounds, you know, any of these 147s want it, put that money on the table, and my man will come and give it a good go.
Speaking about the welterweight division, and I think light welter, you were speaking to I thought I saw you speaking to Ashley Theopane on the weekend. What was that? Just a catch up, or did he give you any hints about the Broner fight coming up, the potential Broner fight?
Oh yeah, me and Ashley boxed together on a load of shows, so we go back a long way. And like we was just chatting about, obviously him taking that big gamble to go to Vegas, you know, try and fit in. It's a tall order, but I'm so pleased of someone that's, you know, fought on all the small shows, you know, gone through it, done all the foreign shows, you know, had to be an opponent, and to be getting a big break, like potentially being spoken about, him speaking of fighting Adrian Broner. I really hope that he gets that fight, because that is definitely a fight that he is capable of winning.
Where do you think that he could win that fight? Obviously, we've seen Broner in with Marcus Maidana. He doesn't like the big puncher Sean Porter. He didn't turn it on until the end with Sean Porter. Where do you feel like Ashley could take control of that fight?
I think Ashley's a lot better fighter than people give him credit for. Obviously, we know he's not a massive puncher, but he's a very slick, determined man. And I think that, you know, obviously he's going to win on points, I would say. Obviously, probably in the MGM Grand as well, so he can't get no better than that. But I would imagine that Ashley might just stick with it for a long period. Like he's been in with the likes of Garcia and that, so they've not knocked him out. So I can't see Broner knocking him out unless he gets a little bit lucky.
So potentially a world champion, he can maybe come down here and bring the belt back.
Ashley knows that he's always welcome. My home is his home.
Perfect. Where can we see you? When can we expect to see you again? I know you got some fighters out this side of Christmas. When are we going to be able to see you in action in the corner?
Well, like I say, I've got Louis and Billy Saunders out on the 30th of October at Mickey's show at the Troxy, which is, again, I'm guessing live on London Live.
Yeah.
So I'll be in the corner for, obviously, Louis Christie's pro debut, and I'll help my dad in the corner with Billy Saunders, which is cousin of the famous Billy Joe Saunders.
Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah. So.
Well, brilliant. Well, it was great catching up, and thanks for inviting me down here. And we'll have to come down again before fight night and catch up with some of your fighters.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.